we have any issue. Please feel free to interrupt me anytime in the in this discussion what we are having. The session will be divided into two parts. One will be the classroom session where we will take you through the workflows and the concepts behind how this particular application has been done. I'll also show the application running from my machine, and then there will be a direct hands-on kind of environment where you will Thomas will help you all to operate the system by yourself. And please feel free if you have any suggestions or any queries. Please do not wait. You can raise your hand, or you can immediately interrupt me as well. Right. So with that introduction note, let me take you through the presentation. Can you see the next slide? So, as we are all aware that this project has basically two components. One will be the hardware, which is kept in front of you on the table, and then we will have the software components. Software components we have divided it into two parts. One is the field activity software, and the other one is the central server. Okay. So anything that you do from the field will have to be synced into the centralized server, and we have taken utmost care that though the data will be synced on an online mode, but in case there is a connectivity issue and all, you can also work on a disconnected mode. So the architecture, it is designed in such a way that the data can come up and down, and it is also operator enabled to see what can be pushed and what can be pulled. I will take you through the entire workflow, how it would look like, right? So in this project, we are getting kind of two kinds of data. One is the data that we are getting from NIC, that is from the NT-BOMI application. The NIC server contains the information of all the parcels and villages, as you would have gone through the training session yesterday. So that is one primary source of ours, but there are other data sources also. Other data sources could be like Survey of India, it could be any other map agency that is serving the data, right? So if you are able to see my mouse, so these are the two inputs data that we will get. One is the services that are coming from external sources, or it could be even your data that is coming from Kerala STI, Spatial Data Infrastructure, or any other department within the Kerala also. If they are giving that as a service, we are going to take that. Then we have the second part is from the NT-BOMI, that is the NIC server where the data is coming. Right? Now here I will like to give you a slight more details of what is the difference between a data and a service. Okay. Now, when you are creating a data, but as a department, you are owning the data, but other departments wants to use the data, right? So typically what we used to do earlier is we used to transfer the files through pen drive, hard disk, emails, and things like that. We used to transfer the data. What will happen is the new department will get the data, but if there is a change in the old data, that is not getting reflected, right? That is a typical problem. That is what was always having. And then if I give the access to the new department, they will add some more information, which is then going to corrupt the data. So ideally, to avoid all of this, we have come out with something called as a services concept, similar to what we are using on our cell phones, right? Isn't it? So sometimes your SIM card may be from Jio, somebody may be using Airtel services, somebody may use Idea services, right? And but when I am talking, I am immaterial. It doesn't matter to me whether it is coming from Jio or it is coming from that tower or this tower and everything, because I am getting a service, right? I am not really bothered about the kind of data. So in the same concept, even in our client server architecture or service oriented architecture, what has got evolved, where all the data that is being served in terms of maps or in terms of any information that we are serving will all come through as a web services. And for GIS, there is an OGC as a consortium. Open GIS Consortium is the name. That is what has defined standards where every organization or department will create the data. So that is also is going to be one of the input. The other, more importantly, is the Entibome application, which is going to give us this data. Here in the OGC web services,
his problem.
Yeah.
Thomas, I informed you. Thomas. Really investigate.
I'm sorry, there was some disconnection, power failure. So that was. Let me share screen once again. Can you see my screen, sir? Okay, so we were talking about web services where we are going to consume this as that is coming from different departments, and this will be used as reference data. But very importantly is that there is a data that is on the NIC server, which is as part of the Entebumi application, which may not be very accurate in terms of the ground reality. So what we need to do is we need to update this information from the ground data, right? And we need to have a utility which can pull the data from the NIC and maintain it into a staging server or a centralized repository which you can update. Right? So we have created a utility which is going to synchronize the data on a timely manner, where the data, whatever needs to be updated, will come from the NIC server and maintain in our central repository, right? Now, this data will then be made available to field activities. Once the field activity is carried out, and we are very much sure as a surveyor that this parcel or this attribute that is being added as part of the land identifier, we'll go into that. But if there is the data that is very much sure, we will push it back to the central repository. Here from the central repository, there will be a QA/QC mechanism in terms of the parcels that have come into the system, whether they are not matching the boundaries, they are overlapping one over the other, or any other kind of workflows that we identify. We do the QA/QC, and then once the QA/QC is done, we will push it to admin tool, which will then further synchronize the data back to NIC. right? This is the complete workflow, how the data is actually going to flow on a nutshell. Any questions so far on this particular thing?
I think Thomas can once more explain that the workflow which Vinay has.
No, it's okay. See, Vinay,
Sir,
you yourself when you explain, please repeat it. Okay. All of us can follow. You can follow what he's saying, right?
Yes.
Huh? I don't think anyone has any issue. Okay, he speaks properly. Okay. So my only request is, when you are speaking some technical, I should not use the word jargon. It's a terminology. For you,
right,
it's a terminology.
sir,
But for some of them, maybe it may be a bit difficult to actually understand because it's a computer, IT technology, IT terminology.
sir,
Some may know, some may not know. Okay,
right,
so when you actually tell that, you should tell in a way that they understand.
right.
Okay, so that's the only thing. Otherwise, they are following everything. And
Yeah,
also, I would suggest whenever you say something, repeat. Tell
I'll
it
do
two
that.
times.
Right, I'll
Okay.
do that. Right. So just before going into the next session, next slide, what we have captured here is we have captured that we understood what is a web service, that there are services that are available which is different from data, and that data is now made available through what is called as OGC, what you see as big. This is a standard committee, just like ISO and all that. We have a standard committee which says that okay, the services has to follow this way. That is one kind of input. Second input is that the Ente Bhumi application is having our parcel data and village boundary data and other textual information also. All that data is available from NIC, which needs to be updated. That we are pulling into a centralized system server, or we are calling it as repository. That is the centralized location where all the data comes in. That is made available to field activity for all the field survey and the updations and everything. Once that is completed, we will do a quality check of the data. And once that quality check is complete, then we push it back into NIC through an admin tool. Right. So this is the workflow that we have done.
Okay, Vinay, this OGC web service which you told, right now are we using it? In the sense, for example, all the GIS information, all the spatial information is available
Yes.
in the Yantabhumi portal itself.
Right, sir. So, like for example, when you see the screen in the next upcoming things, we are using some satellite images.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not coming from NT Bhumi. It is
Ah.
actually coming from a WMS service.
Okay.
It's
So
an OGC.
satellite images are coming from as web
From other-
service.
Yes,
As
yes.
OGC web service, right?
Drone
Even drone images, I think, how are they going to be made available for us?
That also.
So, right. So there are
Yeah.
two ways how we are getting, sir, for drone images. Now, if Survey of India is going to serve that as a service, you will get through OGC only. Okay, but if the drone images are there in your server, I mean, say supposing you have flown the drone services, the server what we are deploying in the state data center
Yes.
will have a facility to again convert it as OGC WMS.
Okay.
So you can use it here, or you can also give it to some other department, but they will need some username, password, and all those things, right? So if you give the credential, they can also use. Somebody else can also use,
Okay.
right? So that is how the system is. So now let us come to certain workflows and some scenarios. Workflow basically, I mean, is what it is typically development terminology that we say, but it is basically okay. Now, we all understood as of yesterday that there is a digital block that is going to be created. Now, with parcels, now every parcel ideally should be having geometry and having some land identifier, right? Geometry is typically the location and the lat longs and everything about the parcel. But the land identifier will be something like, parcel ID, the land type, some district name, taluk name, where it belongs to, right? And then here there is something called status. I don't know whether you're able to see my screen. There is something called status, right? This is very crucial to tie all the workflows. We will talk about this later, but we will understand that there is something called status in the land identifier also, right? Now, this is how the typically what we understand that the parcel will be, or the work that we need to do will be. But here, there are again 3 more options. Okay. That means from the ante bhumi, I will get a parcel with this land identifier and a geometry. That is one case. Second case is the geometry is not there. Okay. That is the second case. And third case is from ante bhumi, I did not get anything. Right. Neither I got a parcel, neither I got the land identifier. Okay. Now let me repeat it again, just for so that we all have a clarity. So from ante bhumi, I will get three ways or scenarios. First scenario is there is a parcel which will have a land identifier and have a geometry, but this geometry may not be accurate. Okay, it may be something drawn from the paper map or something. It is not very precisely on the location. Okay, so that is the first scenario, that we will have all the information that is there, but if it is not there, then the second scenario.
Geometry is the old data. Old data are also maybe some splitting may be done in Yandabhumi portal so as to better manage survey. That data will be available to you, right?
Right. I hope it's clear to everyone, sir. This is the first scenario, right? This is the best scenario. What I always consider that, we will have information about everything, but sometimes it may not happen. The geometry is not there at all, but we will have some survey number or parcel number, and we say that okay, there is no geometry, I need to capture, right? So that is the second scenario. Third scenario is the on ground. You may find that the owner comes and says, "This is my survey number," and from ante bhumi you are not able to get the survey number. Right. But you have verified the Aadhaar card, you have verified his passbook, you have verified his, all the other documents, and you feel that there is something, but it is not there. So how do we handle that? So these are the 3 kinds of scenarios that are considered, and that is how we are moving forward, right? Any doubt so far, sir?
Yes. Yandabhumi is basically getting data from release.
Right.
Okay, and if data is not available in release, you will upload the information in Yandabhumi portal by Form 50 updation, land register updation. When you update land register information, automatically the parcel also will be available in Yandabhumi. You can use this term, use these words also, release and land register updation.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, continue. I think they understood.
Right, sir. So now let us go slightly more into details. Okay. Now let us look at the first scenario. There is parcel, there is land identifier, and geometry is already there, right? That means the ante bhumi is already having all the information from release. Everything is there. It is coming from NIC server. This utility will automatically start updating the information the moment the data is made available from the NIC server through something called API. Okay, that is the way how we talk to each other. 2 different servers talking. Through that, the data will be made available into the centralized server. Once that comes into the centralized server, you can see a tabular format in the backend. There is a database here. Right? There is a database where all the data gets synchronized into this particular table, where all that basic land identifier, everything is also already there, and there is also geometry that is there. Okay, all the data comes into this. Now we have provided an optional view that you can open and see, because it is difficult to understand from the graphics, the tabular data, it is difficult. So we give a graphical view to see all the geometries that are there, that have come into the system, right? So here, before the data comes in, there is one important activity that is already assigned by NIC that you have gone through. probably yesterday, that the block, the digital block, is assigned to a surveyor, right? So the data that it is pulling, it will have the data along with the identifier, but it will also have the surveyor name also. Okay, so that allows me that go into my subsequent steps where I say that the data is available, and now when I am doing it from my field software, when I connect to my through my field software to the server, give my username, the surveyor name. Based on my surveyor name, I will get only those geometries or the land identifier information that is required to do the work. Okay? Is it clear, sir? Or should I repeat that? Because even my team got confused here.
No, it is always good to repeat.
Yeah. So the data has come into the server, right? And here I will have the complete parcels or blocks assigned to multiple surveyors. So surveyor 1, surveyor 2, surveyor 3. So like for example, we have Mohanlal, we have Sridhar as two surveyors. So this particular say village, for example, so half is been assigned to Sridhar and half is been assigned to Mohanlal. But this is all coming from already assigned from the NIC server through what you have seen yesterday. Now the block has come into my server with the surveyor name also. Okay. Now when the data is there right now in the server, I am now going into the field. Now in my field software, when I give my surveyor name and mobile number, it will pull only that data that is given to me. As say Mohanlal is getting in, so he will get only Mohanlal's data. He will not see Sridhar's data.
Okay,
Understood?
so basically digital blocks are created, digital blocks are allotted to surveyors. Okay. So only though the information, the land parcels which are tagged to that particular block, which is allotted to a surveyor, will be seen by that surveyor. Okay? Clear? Okay, ആ ബ്ലോക്കിന്റെ ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ മാത്രമേയാണ് അതിനകത്ത് വരാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ആ ബ്ലോക്ക് മാത്രമേയാണ് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ നിങ്ങൾ കോൺട്രിബ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. വേറെ ബ്ലോക്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ കോൺട്രിബ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ഓക്കെ? ലാൻഡ് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലും ഇല്ലെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങൾ ആ ബ്ലോക്കിന്റെ ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ മാത്രമേ കാണാൻ പറ്റൂ. ആ ബ്ലോക്ക് മാത്രമേ നിങ്ങൾ ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ കോൺട്രിബ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ഓക്കെ? ശരി. യെസ്.
Right. So once the block is seen on my viewer, I will choose that, okay, this is my work package, or like something like there is nothing called actual terminology like work package, but I'm just so that you understand. I will select the parcels and I job to do, and I click a button which will make it ready for my survey app. Okay, which is connected to our GS18 GPS, the instruments, it could be total stations and everything. So once this survey app, we have got the data, right? It will have all the parcels for the block that has to be surveyed, right? Now here, it may have a geometry or it may not have a geometry. Again, I said, there are two cases. So when there is a geometry, what you can do is you will select that, okay, this is the parcel I have selected to correct the geometry, isn't it? What are we doing if there is identifier and the geometry is there? We have to see that the geometry is not correct, but I am doing the survey basically to get the actual geometry, correct geometries or of the parcel. So I select the parcel and it will list out all the land identifier. And then I say that, okay, now I want to capture the geometry. Once I already have got the old data, which is there, I am capturing the geometry as fresh, right? So all the land identifiers will automatically get copied, right? You don't have to type. Ideally, that is what will help us to do faster, isn't it? So it will just copy the data into the new parcel. The geometry is what you will do through our all that.
Vinay, there is a break. Vinay, your signal. There's a break. Please repeat. Thomas, please message him. They should join with a good quality internet.
Hello, sir, is it clear?
Yeah, now please repeat. Now and then it's getting disconnected.
Okay. So from the GIS server, we have got into a platform where I am able.
That was clear. After that.
After that,
Fourth one.
here,
Yes.
this one, sir?
Yeah, please repeat from there. Yes.
So if you see, this is my old parcel. The yellow color is what is the old parcel, right? Old parcel that I got from my NT Bhumi. Now I want to capture this particular parcel. When I am capturing this particular parcel, I am drawing the geometry through our survey techniques, through our GNSS system, or it could be through our total station. What should happen is the other land identifier information, like the village scheme and everything, will automatically get copied from there, and it should come here. That is what happens here. Okay. So then you will have two geometries. You are able to see the yellow one is the old one, the green one is the new one. Okay. Green one is the corrected one, but the values have copied from there to here rather than typing all of this information. Right? In the similar fashion, if there is a land identifier but there is no geometry, you are capturing the geometry, but you will be able to search that particular parcel identifier and attach it to this particular new geometry. Right? Once you are done, the data is again cross-verified in the application to see whether all the data is properly matched. Did I finish off all that? Did I miss out one particular point? All of that I will do. That means the status will be in progress. And once everything is done, then I say, now you send it to QC. Clear, sir?
That fifth stage where you will do in the tab itself.
Yes, this is the first stage, which is in the browser. Second stage is on the tab. Third stage is on the tab. Fourth stage in the tab. Fifth stage is in the tab. Sixth stage goes for QC.
Oh.
Okay. I should have put this like it happens in the. These things all will happen in the tab.
In the fifth stage, what all possibilities are there while checking?
It's a complete package you can do. You can see whether the parcels have come out very correctly. There are some missing parcels which I am supposed to do before I want to send it back to the server. Is the attributes properly copied, not copied? There is some changes, right? Here is where you can also edit that attributes, right? If there is something wrong, then you can send it. Okay.
And then yes, sorry, coordinates discuss it.
I just want to clarify that is also done it in the tab itself.
Okay. Yes, continue.
Right, sir?
Yeah.
Now let us look at the another scenario. Okay? Nothing there. Okay. This is slightly different from what we have discussed so far. Right? In the earlier, we had the server is connected and the server is getting you all the information and we are pushing back up and down and everything is happening. You can go back from this to any stage, right? But here in the new parcel scenario, there is nothing in the server, isn't it? There is no information on the server. So what we are going to do is, if there is an internet connectivity from the tab through the system, then you will hit the form 50, create a block because there is nothing there. Once that is there, the next process will continue as it is, the earlier one. That is one. But if it is a disconnected scenario where I cannot add any information, I cannot create a block or I cannot assign a block, anything cannot happen. Then what happens is, I will create a new parcel. There is a button here called new. You can see here at the bottom of the screen. When you click on the new, there is an option to search for the parcel before I say that this parcel is not there in the database, right? So here, before he does, he will first search the parcel. He has not found anything, right? Then he will click new. Then I will be asked, I will get the information. Already I would have had the information that this block is where the surveyor is, because I already know the previous parcel capturing and all those details are there. So I know that this block he already belongs to. So some of the data will be populated, or then you can choose a block name and then that will fill up all the data like district name, land name and all these things. But otherwise, optionally also, you are allowed to add any information that is created. Once that is there, then you push it back to the same application on the tablet to see whether this particular is here. If I want to change the block here, I want to change some information, I change here. And then finally, everything is done. Then I push it back. QA/QC workflow.
Please repeat, Vinay.
So if at all I want to create a new parcel, that means there is no data presently in any system, right? If I have internet connectivity,
Yes.
then what I do is I connect to the system where I will be offered a form 50, where I fill the value, Enter Boomi application. Sorry, I should have written Enter Boomi here. It is through Enter Boomi where I will fill up all the details. Then the block will be assigned. All that process of what is happening in Enter Boomi before the data is there, that will help us to connect to the database, and then the data is now available into my server automatically without geometry, right? This happens when you are in a internet connectivity mode. Okay. But what will happen if there is no internet connectivity? That means from field, I am not able to connect to Enter Boomi and fill up this form. That means I'm on a disconnected mode, right? So when I'm in a disconnected mode, before I create something new, I can always search for a parcel, that this is the parcel number he's talking about. Let me search. So he will search on the local survey app. He will search whether that parcel is there or not. If it is not there, then he will hit on new.
Okay.
There is a button called new here. Once he hits on new, then it will start creating a new parcel. It will automatically create some new parcel names. Then it will show a blank field.
Some basic textual information.
Yes, some basic textual will be filled. Some will be asked for. Here also we are giving an option, because if the surveyor is already working on one particular block, right? He has been working on, say, block B016 is the number that he's working on, for example. What happens is, if the surveyor selects B016, the B016 is part of one district name and taluk name and village name. So automatically it will just populate, right? But of course, survey number has to be typed. The land type, whether it is agriculture land, whether it is just a fallow land, all of that should be typed. Will be typed here. Once that is all done, I will send it to my application. I'm sorry, I'll send it to my application from the survey app. And this application will, again, you can cross verify if you are all right and everything, every data has come out correctly. There is some gaps, there is some values are not filled up. You can optionally fill the values here also. And then you say, push it to the server.
Okay.
Right. So this is how the three workflows are carried out. So with your permission, what I'll do is I will repeat this in faster way so that we recap everything what we have done.
Okay. Is it very clear to all of you?
Yes.
All of you. Okay. Yeah, you can repeat, Vinay.
Yes. So I'll just recap the whole thing what we have done, because this is the most important and crucial aspect of the whole project. So there is a digital block. Every digital block will have parcels. Parcels will have geometry and land identifier ideally. Right? Land identifier will have some basic information that is required for doing the survey, because every geometry that is correct, geometry means every parcel values that is being corrected from the ground should be associated with some basic IDs and information like survey number and all those things. So that is what comes under land identifier. Now, this particular digital block, which is being generated from Entebumi, will push the data into our server, into the system or the central repository, where it can push three kinds of scenario. First scenario is parcel with land identifier and geometry. That is the best scenario. Second scenario is there is a parcel with land identifier only, but there is no geometry at all. Third is there is no parcel. That means there is no land identifier, there is no geometry at all. Okay. So these are the three scenarios that it will handle. Once the data is made from Entebumi, there is a utility which will keep syncing the data into the centralized repository, where all the data is made available. These are maybe one of your admin will be trained of how to see the data and everything. But ideally, the data will come into a database where you will have all the records and the geometries of the parcels that is there. This is again an optional thing. Why we have put optional is not everybody will be given an access, but we can also have access to everybody. Only this part where you can see whether the data is made available, the data has come into the server or not. But yes, this can be made available. Now, once the data is there, it has to be brought into my tablet. Okay, from here is the tablet scenario where we come into a tablet, where the application is synced based on the surveyor name. So you provide the surveyor name and the mobile number, based on which these two will be checked into the database, and it will pull only those data that is required or given to that surveyor is shown here. Now, in this surveyor, once it is brought in, he can select the parcels that he wants to do survey today, and then he pushes it into the survey app. Here, the old parcel that has come from NIC or the Entebumi application is made available, so that I can use it as a reference. Okay, that is very crucial that we are using it as a reference. Why? Because instead of typing all of these values, avoiding spelling mistakes and everything, that is why we are making sure that the old data is made available to you. And then when you are capturing new geometry, you will have an option to select the parcel or the land identifier values, so that it will be assigned or copied and pasted into the new geometry. A new layer will be created. Now, this new layer can be verified here in the tablet itself, where he has an option to edit some values of attributes, or he can see that, okay, the data is not, two parcels are not sitting next to each other. Then he can cancel that and he can go back and start doing that again. And then he can come back and finally, before he sends it to the server for QC. So as rightly pointed out, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. These are happening on the tablet. Okay. And that is the power that is given to the surveyors to do the things. Okay. Now, the last scenario what we had was that It new parcel can have two scenarios, again further sub scenarios where you have internet connectivity. So you go to Ente Bhumi, fill the form 50. There will be block assigned to you through the process. Once the block is assigned, then it comes into the central repository, and then you follow the previous process, right? That particular parcel is already there, but no geometry is there, right? That is what it is. But if at all you are completely disconnected out of internet and you are not able to connect to Ente Bhumi, then what happens is, first you will search for the parcel number that you want. If you don't find that parcel number in the data that is there, then you will click on new. Okay. When you click on new, it will create optionally, to reduce the time of survey, we are giving an option where you can search a block number. Based on the block number that you have selected, it will fill the values of district name and taluka, and the other information needs to be filled up, like survey number, land type. These things will not be there, so that is what you have to fill in, and then you push it back to the application, cross verify it here, and then you can push it back to the server, right? The two applications are given to you in such a way that you can do all of this application in the field. You can come back and sit under the shade and you can cross verify everything, and then you can send it. So that is the power, that the flexibility that the system is being provided to you. And here, if you remember in my first, I talked about status, right? This is the status flag that is helping us to keep track of what data has come, how the data has moved, and all of that. So you will, if at all, later on, as you keep using, you can see status like to survey, to QC, in progress, right? Rejected parcels. There may be parcels that are rejected out of the QC, and that is again that they will be you will be sent a comment that why this particular parcel has been rejected. Maybe it is because of the geometry is incorrect, or the area is too different, is different from what was actually supposed to be. It could be any information. So based on which you will be given the work to redo the work, and then you can resubmit the work. So that is the complete work scenarios, how that is there. So there are straightforward workflow. There is a reverse workflow also. Okay. Any questions, sir, so far? Because this has to be very, very clear, sir, to everybody.